Good morning again, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. The topic of today's webinar is digital transformation, hiring the right people to drive success. This webinar will last approximately 40 minutes with a Q&A at the end. You'll have the opportunity to add comments in the box at any point during the webinar, and we'll pick up on as many of these as possible towards the end. By way of introduction, my name is Doug Rhodes, Senior MD here at Michael Page Technology. My roles at Page have given me the privilege of working with a huge variety of customers over the years. And I have to say the topic we're discussing today is one of the most important that I've seen over that time. And it's great to have the opportunity to share some insight with you this morning. I'm joined by my colleague, James.
Thanks, Doug. I'm James Barrett. I'm one of the directors here at Michael Page, and I lead our digital and technology proposition. So I and my team spend most of our time talking to a range of candidates and clients about the opportunities and challenges offered by the evolving world of digital. Hopefully, that insight will be interesting to the audience. So let's quickly run through the agenda for today. The purpose of this webinar is to discuss what hiring managers should be considering when they look to build successful teams for digital transformation. There is a lot of buzz around new technologies and the wider digital and IT skills gap that we're finding in the current marketplace. This webinar will cut through the noise and help you determine what skills you need to follow through on digital transformation programs effectively. So we'll kick off by talking about future-proofing your business digitally, and then we'll discuss the top requisite skills to hiring and training. Before moving on to the importance of culture in transformation. And finally, we'll have some time for Q&A, so feel free to send in questions as we go. So let's get started.
Thank you. So there's no one single definition of digital transformation. The reality is it will look different for every company. However, in general terms, and for the purpose of our webinar this morning, we'll be defining it as the integration of digital technology into all areas of the business and using it to make a fundamental change to how businesses compete, interact, and create value. It also typically demands cultural change inside the organization, and whilst it provides great opportunities, it does come with considerable effort and potential risks. We would classify digitalization as the movement toward a digital organization through more of a project-based approach that is tasked with digitalizing business operations in a more piecemeal fashion, sometimes in a more reactive way to respond to customer demand, and sometimes as a planned step journey towards further digital transformation.
I agree, Doug. I think it's easy to confuse the two. I also think there is a danger of oversimplifying digitalization. It's just doing the same stuff, but faster and with ultimately cooler toys. Ultimately, the rate of technological development across all sectors increases the breadth of digital products that businesses need to adopt. As a result, IT architecture is increasingly complex, and equally, the skills needed to manage such products is exponentially widening. Digitalization, and especially projects within wider transformation initiatives, may well be pushing at the cutting edge of technological advancements, and therefore are likely to challenge the IT infrastructure and, more importantly, people's capability in post. These tech trends mean that businesses are having to consider how to adopt or manage things like big data, AI, personalization, robotics, and IoT as potentially part of BAU. But we're not just seeing this in business, though. This is societal. We've had Generation X, Y, and Z. By 2020, we'll have a generation that have grown up in a connected world: smartphones, tablets, Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, soon to be 5G. This will be a connected generation, Generation C. So what defines them? They are willing to share their privacy more than ever before. They trust the opinions of others more than ever before. They've grown up through a disrupted world of new tech, new businesses, new consumers, and new ways of working in the digital space. Again, it's ultimately the new economy driven by the consumer internet. In the UK, the ONS reported that from January to March 2017, 89% of the UK's population used the internet. How long for the remaining 11%? With this in mind, there's never been a time previously where the reach of an organization can be so widespread, both nationally and internationally. Relevance to your customer is essential. So when we talk about digital transformation, we're referring to a strategic movement that reorganizes the business model to become agile to these increasingly demanding and evolving customer needs. There will be many digitalization projects within the transformation process, but no single digitalization project has the ability to enable transformation on its own.
Thank you. I think the other key bit to really get our head around is that digital transformation isn't just about digital technology and can't just be driven by the IT function. It needs a plan, strategy, and a commitment driven from the very top of the organization, providing clarity of expectations for how it will affect all employees. Yet, according to a 2017 report by the Initiative for Digital Transformation, only 50% of companies had established a vision for the digital future. And of those 50%, only 37% had a transformation structure actually in place. One organisation that's been very clear in its digital goals and strategy is IKEA, and they represent a great example of where the impact of digital isn't just about technology. The digital landscape has fundamentally changed retail, and in November 2018, the IKEA chief executive announced the next stage of their global transformation, embracing digital technology to impact on stores, distribution, fulfillment, and overall customer experience, with the net effect of creating 11,500 new jobs globally, but potentially making 7,500 roles redundant, as the organisation fundamentally transforms to reflect the digitalised retail landscape.
I think that's a great example of transforming an entire business, and the retail sector is one most of us as consumers can relate to. Digital transformation is most apparent when you see startups look to disrupt the status quo. In retail, we saw it early with the online players like Amazon, ASOS, and the like back in the day. However, it's in the public domain across most sectors, both successes and failures. In utilities, we've seen the rise and fall of challenger brands, as well as the struggles of the big six with customer experience. In financial services, the early chatter was that the fintechs would overthrow the big banks, when in fact now we are seeing greater collaboration between the large and small players. The automotive space is a very interesting market and very topical given what's in the news in recent days. In recent years, the legacy stalwarts have consolidated into alliances in the marketplace due to the global challenges of the environment and emissions, costs, global supply chain and other challenges. We've also seen new entrants into the market such as Tesla and Dyson, and possibly even Apple and Google in the near future, and the acceleration of autonomous vehicles. However, what startups have in innovation and agility, they often lack in brand, customers, supply chain infrastructure. An interesting case study on this point is it was with Nissan. And obviously they've been in the news for a number of reasons, but this is prior to this, they set out their commitment to autonomous vehicles. They hired Tony Thomas from GE Growth to drive the innovation. And clearly autonomous vehicles will require bleeding edge technology to make them work. However, his first move was to focus internally on improving agility to exploit their technological advances. Communication flow in-house is a priority, moving all staff towards a more digital workplace to leverage cloud and mobile technologies. The real changes, however, were in the focus of building more software solutions via in-house teams. A digital hub was opened, and that focused on working on programs to improve the work experience for employees, but also to improve customer experience. These hubs were tasked with R&D initiatives that will accelerate Nissan's mission to move towards autonomous vehicles. This huge level of investment and complex reorganization is critical if you want to transform your business digitally.
So what are the potential pitfalls of digital transformation projects? We're happy to share our insight here, but it'd be great to get some interaction going on. So please feel free to submit any questions or comments on this onto the screen, which we can pick up later and interact with as well. But according to Forbes, 84% of digital transformations fail. That's an incredible statistic. So let's try and get under the skin as to why that is. Firstly, digital transformation is fundamentally about business transformation. Technology is only a means to deliver the end. Having said that, defining the end and getting to the point where you can actually declare victory is also nigh on impossible in a digital transformation process, as it ends up being a continuous and iterative process. What is clear, though, from our conversations with customers, is that it's often not the technology element that causes the challenges, it's the people. For transformations to deliver the relevant impact, you need the right people in the right roles with the right mindset. One obvious gap that can appear at the outset in organisations can be where IT professionals at executive level can lack the required broader business knowledge, and other senior executives lack the necessary IT knowledge and insight. Getting this balance right to start with is fundamental. Additionally, all levels of the organisation need to be comfortable with the potential changes as to how the organisation will need to run. A true digital-first organisation will require collaboration across functional and self-directed teams that are not afraid of uncertain outcomes. That's the opposite of many organisations that have developed a culture of hierarchy and clear boundaries between areas of responsibility, and that can cause levels of discomfort across organisations. Deloitte did a good survey back in 2017 around digital maturity, where they highlighted some of these points. For example, when they were talking around multifunctional teams, for 70% of respondents from digitally maturing companies said their organizations are increasingly organized around cross-functional teams, versus only 28% of companies at early stages of digital development. They also spoke around the change in mindset to be able to scale small digital experiments into enterprise-wide initiatives, creating minimal viable products within organizations, and then scaling them up to make sure they have the necessary impact. Ultimately, as well, they spoke about becoming talent magnets, and that was two different ways for organizations. One, employees and executives can be highly in demand with digital skills. They can be tempted to jump ship if they don't feel they have the opportunity to develop those skills. And more importantly, the organizations they will look to join will be the ones that will invest in them and work with the cutting edge technologies in view of the future.
So in summary, if you are starting or planning the digital transformation to become more customer centric, you need to consider if you have the skills in place to carry this off.
That hopefully moves us on nicely to talk around some of the top digital skills that you may look into hire in 2019 moving forwards. Although technology and techniques change from year to year, the challenge for recruitment stays the same. Finding the right talent to be able to harness new platform and new ways of thinking. So let's jump into some of the top skills which we think can benefit your business in 2019 and beyond, and what core competencies you should be able to look for within candidates. We split them into 4 themes: data, security, product management, and technical skills to improve the customer view. The starting point for any digital transformation has to be data. Harnessing the information you have in your business internally and organizing that data and starting to understand the data you can generate from your customers. The first role we picked out then is BI analysts. Those that are tasked with providing key information and intelligence to feed back to the business and help to facilitate business decisions. Other key skills to consider in the quest for more cohesive business operations can be found in data visualization specialists and big data analysts, which are skills particularly relevant to digital transformation. Data visualization tools go beyond the standard charts and graphs used in Excel spreadsheet, displaying data in sophisticated ways such as infographics, dials and gauges, spark lines, heat maps, and fever charts. Visualization tools such as Tableau, ClickView, Power BI, and MicroStrategy help companies to make better strategic and commercial decisions by pulling data from finance, sales, marketing, and operations systems across the board. The creation of dashboards within these tools enables end users to manipulate them or drill down into the data for enhanced querying and analysis. The quality of output, as ever, is dependent on the quality of data that's inputted, both from databases and data warehouses, and is normally extracted via coding in Microsoft SQL or Oracle SQL.
Thanks, Doug. I think it's also important to talk about big data, as most people have heard of the topic. Big data is a term that gets bandied around a lot. So what is it? The term describes a large volume of complex data, both structured from internal CRM data systems or external information providers, and unstructured from the internet or being web-based. And it's this big data that inundates a business on a day-to-day basis. So how big is big data? Well, it's expected by 2020 there'll be 1.7 megabytes generated every second for every human on the planet. It's pretty big. Big data can be analyzed for insights that lead to better business decisions, for example, product enhancement, and for commercial strategy. It tends to be defined by the 3 V's: volume, velocity, and variety. Key challenges revolve around data capture, storage, analysis, transfer, querying, and privacy. And the key technologies you'd like to see are Amazon EMR, Apache, Hive, Pig, Spark, Hadoop, MongoDB, Cassandra, and NoSQL. But with all this rise of big data, and the ease of tracking online analytics, a cohesive digital strategy is more achievable than ever. So we need to look at digital analysts. Harnessing this power really can really improve business performance. Customer experience can be improved by fact-based decision making. Predictive analytics improve recommendations, classification, and personalization, all through the help of machine learning. Currently, it's no surprise that the most advertised digital role in the UK is digital analyst, highlighting the importance of data in digital transformation. Furthermore, the need to consolidate data from all business areas and to channel this cohesively into one analytics and CRM program is fast becoming apparent, resulting in a very high demand for senior digital leaders with the experience in leveraging this data. With all this digital innovation, we've really got to make sure that we don't ignore the risk to that data and the privacy demanded by our customers and clients. Digital innovation presents exciting opportunities, but also new risks which organizations need to consider and manage in order to be successful. The digital era is complex and fast changing. Generation C, we said before, are willing to share like no other generation before, and yet they expect transparency. Added to this, there's increased threat from sophisticated cyber criminals and the recent GDPR legislation enshrining data privacy. All these factors lead to a required investment to transform and mature the three-line defence model.
We've listed a number of roles up here that we're seeing across the security side with increased demand for, but it's worthwhile pulling out perhaps an emphasis on the below experience, which actually highlights and underpins all of those roles. The key skills people are looking for: one is experience of managing digital transformation, identifying and managing new risks associated with digital technologies, machine learning, cloud, for example. Customers are looking for proven experience of embedding risk and controls into new ways of working, whether that's agile or DevOps, embedding governance, risk and control within digital technologies. Implementing automated and AI-driven controls and predictive risk and control analytics is another hot favorite, along with knowledge of operational relicense, emerging technology, and/or change transformation risk. Cloud architecture such as AWS and Microsoft Azure, private and public cloud operating models within that are other key skills which are very much in demand. Moving on to product management. Now for me, if there's one role that's key in its growing importance to organizations that are serious about a digital focus, it's the product management one. Firstly, having good product managers on board is a key indicator of your direction of travel as an organization. And as a role, they're a great example of the cross-functional knowledge required in a modern business. Often described as the glue that binds the many functions that will touch the product, they have to behave almost like mini CEOs, understanding technology, the business, and most importantly, the customer end user. And what we may well see over time is that this role starts to become a great stepping stone and breeding ground for senior level and CEO appointments into businesses of the future. To pick out some of the core competencies that you'd see within a product manager, problem solving is certainly up there. Product manager must be able to liaise between the business, the customer, and be able to provide solutions for day-to-day challenges. Communication is key. Often having to manage multiple stakeholders effectively is paramount for success in the digital world. The product manager must be able to communicate clearly in order to effectively establish the product strategy and vision. And last but not least, business acumen, the capacity to understand business and customer needs, but also the technology involved in creating the actual product demands a willingness to continuously learn and improve. Which moves on nicely to digital and marketing skills. Now, depending in terms of how you interact with your customer, we've seen a huge increase in demand for the digital and the marketing side of things. But the generalist digital marketer or web manager is fast becoming extinct. We've seen a large demand for in-housing digital teams as many online businesses step away from their digital agencies. Search engine optimization, or SEO, has always been a key digital channel that drives visibility. Despite the rise in paid advertising, SEO remains a key acquisition channel. The term itself covers everything from content to technical on-site SEO. The development of voice search continued apace in 2018. PPC, or pay-per-click, is a subsection of search engine marketing. It's essential to be versatile with different user interfaces other than desktop, as search is increasingly carried out on mobile devices. Adaptability is key in a PPC role to maintain a detailed understanding of how keyword bids are managed.
Retention of customers is largely down to a CRM strategy, which is generally built around email marketing. The need for digitally savvy CRM managers increased as a result of this, with our clients seeking expert email marketing managers with experience in automation across a variety of email service providers.
Social media is one of the fastest and most efficient ways to engage with audiences globally. Throughout 2019, professionals will need to better understand and utilize social media insights. This will encourage a more rounded understanding of audiences and groups to target, as well as identifying interests and opportunities whilst benchmarking against competitors. Building reputation should be considered an increasingly important element of social media strategy, responding to customer issues, queries, and maintaining consistently the right tone of voice to consumers requires active management. In general, and as more consumers choose to shop online, it's important to provide a seamless digital experience for your customers. Ensuring your website is mobile friendly, that there aren't any broken pages or links, will ensure a positive customer journey. The UX designer plays a critical role in this process.
In addition to this, the shift towards an e-commerce focus for many brands has significantly impacted the structure of digital teams across the UK. When looking to improve customer experience, there are a few key areas to consider. An e-commerce professional should have the ability to analyse and utilise data efficiently. The ability to be fluid, to take on different responsibilities throughout the role is absolutely crucial. So that's our insight into the skills to hire for digital transformation. We'd really value your opinion and views on what your top priority transformation hire will be for 2019. Hopefully, you should be able to see a voting button at the bottom right hand of your screen. Please use that to let us know which of the following will be your business priority out of data, security, product or digital. You should also have another option as well, and we can pick up those suggestions and any questions in your comments. Hopefully the poll is open now.
Excellent. Look forward to your insights. While you're joining in with our poll, we shall move on to start to have a look at some of the culture that's required in order to enable change within an organisation. We've spoken about some of the technical skills and how they're related in your business towards transformation. Let's discuss how to get the best out of those skills through a valued and varied culture.
Okay, so if you don't have the right culture, you can invest in transformation all you want, but it will fail when the culture retracts back to its original limitations. There's a huge amount of business literature on innovation and culture, but this is one example from Jeffrey Baumgartner, who really displays the point about allowing leaders and staff to take the risk in order to break boundaries. Technology plays a huge role in digital transformation. It's absolutely nothing without the skilled professionals who define and manage that process. You can have a business of industry-leading talent, but they need direction, investment, and a platform of trust to excel. So let's run through the 7 essential characteristics of innovative companies. Number 1, a unique and relevant strategy. Bland strategies, such as to be the best, do not provide a path to innovation. Secondly, innovation is a means to achieve strategic goals. Highly innovative companies do not see innovation as an end, but rather as a means. If you look at the Forbes report of the top innovative companies in 2018, the top 3 were all tech firms, with ServiceNow, Workday, and Salesforce all there. And their goal is to innovate how business processes can be changed and challenged for the greater good. Third, innovators are leaders. What does this mean? Innovation provides market leadership, but not immediate profitability. If you look at Amazon in terms of their investments over the years before they turned a profit, and currently Netflix, well, they spent $12 billion last year on content, 17 billion in 2019, and are yet to make a profit. The fourth point, innovators implement. Less innovative companies talk about ideas rather than implementing them. You need to get stuff done. Fifth, failure is an option. You need to give employees freedom and encouragement to fail. You can't be digital if you're not willing to launch and kill products quickly and learn continuously and improve. Number 6, an environment of trust. Creativity thrives best when people in an organization trust each other and their organization. And finally, autonomy. Individual and team autonomy is a key component of innovation. I think Paul Camuti, president of Siemens Corporate Research, sums it up really, really well. 80% of innovation efforts fail due to a lack of action. Rather than just setting goals and assuming it's going to happen, there has to be better ownership of innovation all the way up and down. So in essence, the CEO and the latest hire need to be aligned on the innovation values, otherwise it won't stick.
That gives us a great overview of the framework and the intention of the culture that organisations need to build. But culture is heavily dependent on the softer skills prevalent in team members and how they interoperate. Rewarding and facilitating types of behaviour is key to allowing a culture that's united under the company mission to grow. We'll pull out some soft skills now that we think are vital to have in such a robust team. The first one we pick up on will be communication. It's a skill that's continually growing in importance. Today's digital technology offers an abundance of different ways to talk to one another. For example, by email, phone, face-to-face, in-house platforms that offer real-time communications. How to converse clearly is a crucial factor when communicating, and regular communication within teams is paramount for business success, especially in the competitive market of today. Professionals need to demonstrate their written conversation skills at interview. They will be the top candidates through the hiring process. But more importantly, finding a method of communication is easy in today's world. Picking the right one and doing it with clarity is more of a challenge. The second one we pull out would be adaptability. In uncertain times, the most adaptable individuals are those that will thrive. The landscape of today's market is constantly changing. Therefore, it's crucial for professionals to be able to adapt accordingly. The ability to manage multiple tasks, projects, and situations all at once is key. As we move through a time of huge social and political change, professionals' ability to work amidst challenging conditions has never been more important. And it's essential to have skilled professionals that can develop strategies for change at every turn.
So resilience, I mean, those previous skills are absolutely key, but without resilience in today's disrupted and ambiguous world, transformation just won't happen. When faced with challenges, those with resilient skills truly stand up to be counted. When looking for the ideal role as a candidate or looking to hire the best talent, you need to be resilient. As an employer, you will need to be able to move at pace, sell a compelling vision, challenge the candidate to ensure they will drive your strategy, but equally be open to the fact that the best candidates will challenge you. It is, after all, a candidate-driven market due to the digital skills gap.
This whole topic of the soft skills is clearly a key one, and you can read more about the valuable transferable skills in our ebook, 100 in-demand skills for 2019, of which you should be receiving a link for post the webinar this morning. So where do soft skills gaps occur in businesses? This graph is a great example. This is lifted from a Capgemini report that gives some insight around soft digital skills, listing them on the left in terms of what the key ones would be that are identified. All of these areas highlight the common themes that are required for successful employees of the future to drive successful organizations. They reflect the speed of change that many organizations are witnessing and the agility that they need their employers to react with in order not just to respond to, but to lead the markets they work in through ongoing innovation and change. And you can see in there a little bit of a disconnect between actually where employees would claim their proficiency levels to be and the demand from the employer, which is a big part of the skills gap to fill. So now we've helped to identify what the right candidates might be. How do we go about finding the right people? So let's move on to the final learning segment of the webinar, how to find the right candidates.
So 3 easy steps to success. The digital skills gap is a hindrance for companies looking to find and retain the best digital talent in the market. With more than 3 out of 4 UK executives facing challenges with digital recruitment, how do you approach candidates is absolutely critical to your success. The first step is knowing the market value of digital skills and providing a competitive package. This is not purely on the financial elements, as flexible working or inclusivity programs can help create a concept of a positive company culture and image. Ultimately, candidates need to connect with your product, your values, and your team. The second and third steps are knowing about how to find and target those candidates effectively. Examples we are seeing amongst our client base include increasingly nearshoring, putting businesses near training hubs and universities, and redeployment. By that, we mean retraining and redeploying non-digital teams and people into digital capabilities for transformation projects.
To further James's point around candidate attraction, this graph, also from the Capgemini report, gives us some great market insight into what you should be considering when looking to advertise opportunities to digital talent. Candidates have different preferences when looking to identify the next move, but what's quite clear is that candidates now value flexible working arrangements, flat hierarchies, and processes of communication. This style of work is focused on collaboration, and managers should try to allow for that as much as possible when working to become more customer-centric. What is also increasingly clear is that, given the pace of change, the best candidates will not stay with organizations that they do not believe are developing their digital skill set and challenging them with cutting-edge roles to perform.
So we know hiring is a challenge, but we know that diversity and inclusion is an absolute priority. There are a multitude of studies which show a more diverse and inclusive organization will perform better than its less diverse competitors. It's also clear that STEM professions suffer with the worst diversity. For example, the tech workforce is estimated to be only 17% female. With that and the challenging skills gap in mind, most businesses will need to become creative to find the required technical skills. The first step is considering alternative backgrounds. Candidates are doing this already. If we look at Capgemini's Digital Transformation Institute and Digital Talent Gap Study in 2017, 58% of digital talent in organizations surveyed have already invested. So I think we've got a problem with our slides. Here we go. So according to Capgemini's Digital Transformation Institute study in 2017, 58% of digital talent in organizations surveyed have invested in developing digital skills on their own. What are the reasons why? 38% have done so to be on par with colleagues. 23% have more flexibility to train in areas they're interested in, and 19% to expand skills that will help in their personal lives. So when looking at CVs from alternative backgrounds, you need to be asking around personal projects, passions, independent learning, and this will give you a clear idea of how they're positioning themselves in terms of career growth, and importantly, what actual efforts they've taken to get there. Candidates who demonstrate genuine passion are more likely to bring that energy and impact your team's culture positively. Hire for the culture you want, not the culture that you have.
That brings the learning segment to a close for us this morning. Hopefully we've given you an insight into the changes and processes that we're seeing many of our customers undertake, and highlight some of the challenges that they've seen on the way. Whilst a ready-made blueprint for digital transformation doesn't exist, at its core, the level of success or failure will be determined by how well an organisation can augment the right technology with the right people and cultural change in their organisation in order to deliver the right customer outcomes. Now I'd like to open up for any questions that you may have. Please feel free to submit them through.
Okay, we've got a pre-submitted question here. One for you, Doug.
Thank you.
First up, how do you recommend a smaller, less well-known organisation competes with the huge brands to hire the best digital talent?
That's a good question, an interesting one, and one we get asked quite often. Ultimately, it's around the attractiveness of your proposition. Like you saw from the earlier graph, that the core bits that motivate the best candidates are the bits to genuinely focus on. There will be some organisations that definitely will want to be working for a larger organisation rather than a small one. But actually, when you can get under the skin of the key purpose and drivers of people, then you can actually make your smaller organisations a lot more attractive if required. Sometimes it's looking for candidates that want to be more attractive to an organisation they may believe may have more of a disruptive mindset. But certainly the biggest drivers for candidates that we see tend to be the link through to both the purpose and also the excitement of the products and the technologies that they're working with.
Thank you, Doug. Got another question here. I'll take this one for you. So this is from Vicky from a utilities firm. How do you advise an HR function to engage internally with their IT team to improve diversity when hiring digital talent? This is very topical and an interesting one. There is no quick answer on this, because ultimately, the goals of the technical team will be to fix problems and deliver a solution. And really, from an organisation approach, you really need to take that on holistically. You need to look at what you're trying to achieve from your diversity and inclusion programme and look to sell the benefits of that to the technical teams. You also need to therefore give them the support in terms of how they identify that talent, open their mind to more diverse CVs, more alternative routes, and also support them with the training and to challenge their thinking, see if they can bring some people in on compromising on some potentially technical skills, which the market may be lacking, but actually then train and develop those people over a longer term. And also remind them that the more diverse team they build, the more diverse skills they'll be able to attract in the future. But it's not easy, and it takes a commitment up and down the organisation. So I hope that answers your question, Vicky. And have we got any more questions?
Are we able to see the poll result, to see what people...
I think there was a clear winner in the poll.
A clear winner in the poll.
Data has smashed it by the looks of it. So we've got 53% of our audience saying that they will be investing in data to drive their transformation. We've got 11% security, and 11% product management, and 26% digital marketing. So ultimately, data is the new oil. We need to get that right if we're going to be able to drive the transformation, understand our customers and our inventory. Excellent. Well, thank you to everyone who contributed for that. So everyone, thank you so much for attending our webinar. If there's no further questions, we really hope you enjoyed it. There'll be some follow-up communications, but please watch out. Oh, we've got a last-minute question coming in. I'm surprised not to see anything on. Sorry, we're trying to get the screen working. Technical. I'm surprised not to see anything around process mapping, customer journey map being critical to skills delivering transformation. Skills delivering transformation. I welcome the thoughts on this in terms of approach and roles. I think it's a very interesting question, because ultimately, how do you bring together your product team to work with the wider kind of transformation piece? And it really is to understand what roles the business analysis function play in your organization. If you're working under agile methodology and building a Scrum team, it's making sure that you absolutely have the right skills in your BA function, your business analysis function, to go out and be able to challenge the status quo and bring that back through. If that organization doesn't work symbiotically and have the right skills, then ultimately you will struggle. Hiring the right kind of business analyst is very tricky, and process mapping, I think, is important. You can get held up on which frameworks you actually take on. I think it's far more about the human being. You need a business analyst who can actually engage with stakeholders, challenge the status quo, and sell a solution to make sure they just don't take the orders that come back into the Scrum team. I mean, that you don't actually drive the change that you want. Hope that answers your question. Any other questions? No, good. Well, thank you so much for attending. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, there will be more content coming out. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.